I'm finishing the most complex creation I have ever made. Hands down, the engineering, the artistry, and the sheer process is without a doubt something you've never seen before. This has to be an operating and masterfully done sculpture that will be installed in my home permanently as a toilet and bidet. So welcome to part number 2. Last video I left you on quite the cliffhanger. I hope this works. Oh my gosh! And that's because there's still a lot left to do. I mean, I'm gonna be carving this into a dragon sculpture. But first, let's see what happened with those test results so we know how to move forward. Oh my gosh! That, wow. The flush is massive. Let's try this again and I'll show you what happens. That is a huge flush. But guess what? It actually flushes like it's supposed to. That's incredible. So I tested some smaller, more appropriate flushes before moving to something a bit more challenging. I need to do a third really good test. So I made a nice, pretty piece. It's clay, so it doesn't bend very easily, and it's like, it feels like it's a pound. What's the verdict?
It came out so perfect. It came out.
Yes, yes. It's a freaking miracle. I guess we can move forward. There are definitely some things to worry about when you're dealing with water, as you can probably imagine. The obvious one is, how do I keep the water from destroying the wood over time? But a not so obvious problem showed up on my waterfall lamp project. It started getting ugly staining from the hard water buildup, and especially after we moved to our new house, we started seeing even more problems with this water. And I would hate to also stain this precious walnut sculpture, so I started looking for solutions. Then literally out of nowhere, the solution popped into my email inbox. Springwell has whole home water filtration systems that will solve this issue and more. So thankfully, by the grace of the water gods, they are in fact today's solution and sponsor. And between the water we consume and the toilet water Bubs drinks, we need it to be contaminant free. All right, there she is. The inside is nice and smooth. The only thing I'm unhappy with is the symmetry of this ring right here. So I have a plan. Typically, the first step to getting a Springwell system is submitting a water sample taken from your home, especially if you're on well water. I took a sample from our kitchen sink, and after getting the results from the lab, we can definitely see why we need the filter. We have chlorine, chloride, and hardness, which explains why our plants keep dying out of nowhere and various things are getting bad calcium buildup. The problems don't end there though. Our laundry room reeks of chlorine, and the water is causing acne for Bridget, which she has never had before. And apparently there's sediment getting into our line. Well, Springwell went over these test results and issues we're having and basically prescribed us a filtration system that will mitigate all of the frustrating contaminants once and for all. Okay, now we're nice and symmetrical. The really cool part is they designed these systems to be DIY friendly, so you can install it yourself or choose a plumber of your liking. I'm doing it myself. I received the salt-free water conditioner to solve the hard water, and the activated carbon filter for all the chemicals and other impurities. You can see that it's already doing the trick, and it's not even installed yet.
No, silly boy.
After a thorough rinse to get rid of any loose carbon media, I can just follow their instructions to install the system. Two-person lifting is definitely recommended if you happen to be doing that though. And a good attitude. Was that me, or did I just see a filter with arms? Anyways, the system is easy to install and even includes a sediment filter, apparently for that dirt you saw in my water. And by the way, I'm in a small utility closet, so filming is tight. One final thing I recommend is when you turn the water back on again, just make sure a bathtub is on to let any particulate out of the lines first. And dang, look at what was in mine. Yummy! But now our water is fresh and clean and our plants are already showing new fast growth. And we have better tasting water right out of the tap, no chlorine or nasty smell, and our appliances are even protected. So I really do suggest checking out Springwell for your water filtration needs. You can remove those harmful water contaminants using my link in the description and make sure to use code FortressFineWoodworks10 to receive 10% off your Springwell purchase. This is an electronic bidet seat, and it heats the seat itself as well as heats the water that it sprays. And it would look mighty silly if I used this plastic thing on top of the beautiful sculpture. So I'm gonna have to design an entire walnut wooden seat that I can incorporate all of these components into. I just realized I should probably test it first. Oh, it's hitting my joiner. That thing freaking sprays like 20 feet. Yeah, did I get you? Heated seat is working. Caution, risk of electric shock. Do not remove. Now I'm working on the seat first because it will actually dictate the shape of the toilet itself. There's our sensor. But some tests have to be done if I'm gonna be making this into a wooden seat. Oh. So now it can work through almost a 1/4 inch of wood. Okay, that's actually the first victory because now the sensor works through the wood, and in order for the bidet to work, the occupancy sensor has to work. And I mean, that's the only thing we need to figure out this project, right? I don't have time to talk to the camera because there is a lot to figure out this project. All of these cutoffs are from previous projects that I've worked on, and believe it or not, they are a lot harder to use than you would naturally think. A lot of them are cut into weird shapes, and most of the time when I need a specific size, they just happen to be just too small. But not this time, boys and girls. I'm making it happen, cutting caulk off, doing whatever it takes to make sure I use these things. Hey Bubs, did you get a paper towel? Oh, look at that. Oh, look at the mess. Look at the mess. Another reason that it's actually smart to use cutoffs in this case is because if I used full boards, a lot of it would get turned into sawdust and essentially wasted. Not that I'm particularly the type of person that tries to save every ounce of wood in the project, because as you'll see, there's gonna be a lot of sawdust in this build. It's more so that there is so much to do that I'm gonna have my CNC cutting some of the bidet parts while I hand carve some of the sculptural aspects. And if there's less wood, then there's less cutting time on the CNC. It's pretty simple. I'm gonna get some cuts started so that I can work on other things. This will be the bidet housing. So I have no clue if my feeds and speeds are correct, so I'm just hoping for the best. Yeah, hoping for the best usually doesn't work on this tool. I don't know what I did, but I guess I'll start it again. For some reason, this darn thing just keeps stopping, and I cannot figure out why. Dang it. Something like this can be a challenge because through all of the designing, 3D modeling, and running CNC paths, it could be any one of those hidden steps that's gone rogue. But it sure is beautiful when it's working like a charm, huh? If you're not familiar with this, what I'm actually doing is I'm cutting the underside of the parts first, then flipping them over and having to cut the top side. And this only works if I set the part in the exact location that it was previously in. And trust me, this is a lot easier said than done when you start losing some of your flat reference faces. Is this real? Like, this is insane. We have a perfect hollow part made out of solid walnut. The plastic part? The wooden part? What? I only had 2 small issues with that. There's just a tiny bit of tear out right here that I need to fix, and then this middle piece got popped off, but I still have it. So now while it cuts the next part, which is actually the product of me spending days doing the design so it runs flawlessly, kinda, I can start doing some repair work and altering things so that the electronics actually fit inside this case. And I've learned to really enjoy this process because mistakes are inevitable, and fixing them usually requires me to slow down, use some hand tools, and it just has a different feel and flow to it. These sidewalls are incredibly brittle right now because it's just short grain. So I'm gonna have to find a solution to strengthen them up, otherwise they'll just crack and break apart. And you definitely don't want that while you're sitting on it. This is still blowing my mind. This is the underside of the seat cover, and it's gorgeous. I just need to do one more pass to clean up this radius. I hope I don't screw it up now. And then I totally just frickin' took a chunk out of the side. Yikes, man. I have to fix my mistake. So for this piece, I just need to use the same wood, which is actually this piece right here. So I'll just use that to fill that spot. And then so for this one, I actually still have the cutoff that belongs right here. So as long as I use some of this wood to fill in this spot, both of these should match pretty well. Well, let's sand them down and see how they turned out. There's going to be a lot of different wood grains, colors, shapes, textures, not to mention the organic carving I'm going to be doing, so everything will blend together and look beautiful regardless. So now, I just gotta not screw this round up. This swaying dance, or so it seems, back and forth between cutting profiles and finally tweaking structures made me suddenly realize I finally thought of it. My machine kept stopping randomly because chips were flying into the sensors and triggering them. So I decided to make a solution not only for me, but for you guys as well, which is this product. I designed something that installs within seconds that blocks these sensors so that they can't be falsely tripped, but it also allows the machine to home properly. So if you have a Onefinity, I definitely recommend getting 3 of these, and you can get them in our shop right now. These fit the Onefinity Elite Series machines, and they work like a charm. So from here, I'm gonna have to do a little bit of customizing on this so that both of these components can actually mesh together. This toilet inlet, though, can no longer point sideways. I need it to point down so that it can go physically through the structure of the toilet. I want it to be hidden. Bummer, this one hurts because I had it, it was fine, and of course I had to go ruining it. So now I have to 3D model a whole new piece and print it. So once again, I measure and model my little heart away, prepare it to print with a waterproof plastic, and screw it all up. So while another one is hopefully printing correctly this time, I need to get the electronics set. And they can't just set kind of good. They need to basically set perfectly. There's doors that need to operate without getting hung up. There's buttons that need to align with their pegs, otherwise they'd probably just get stuck depressed. And I don't mean depressed like sad, I just mean get stuck pressed in. We don't care if they have feelings, we just want them to do what we want them to do. A lot like the American government these days. Oh wait, did I say that? Oh look, the buttons work. These little tiny pieces are going to be the new doors that cover the sprayers and the air dryer. They basically prevent any splashback from contaminating those parts, and they're going to have to be sealed to the nines so that they do not get wet. And yes, I totally drilled this hole with finger power over the course of like 10 minutes to get it perfectly in line, of course. Now, let's test how strong that 3D printed inlet is going to be because we do not want it exploding in the bathroom. Here's a hint. I've finely tuned this print profile so it basically prints like injection molded plastic. So I think it'll be just fine. This oddball shape is going to be the physical seat, which is proving to be one of the more complex parts of this entire build. But man, that is nice.
You look so handsome, Bubba's. You took your headphones off, Bubs. Your ear. Yeah.
Poor little guy, we just want him to live a good life, you know? If you haven't noticed, I'm still working on this case. There's a lot to do.
Oh man, I heard a crack.
Dude.
So from here, I don't know whether to reinforce that area with fiberglass cloth and epoxy, or if I should do away with soft close function altogether. I just don't know. I mean, come on though, it looks so freaking cool. And I've put so much work into it. I mean, I have to make this work.
That's a Monday problem for Corey.
So it's been the weekend and I decided I'm gonna fix this problem today.
With this fiberglass cloth that I totally did not think of. It was actually my kind of cousin Luke.
Do you give your consent to be in the video?
Of course he does not. But how else can I give the man the credit for thinking of such a brilliant idea? This actually kind of saves the day because not only can I use it for these different parts, but I can use it for basically everything that needs reinforcement. Because the seat is actually made of two different parts to fit the heat wire later, which ultimately made them very thin and very brittle. And it would be really embarrassing to sit on this thing and have it break, along with any other crazy scenario that could happen when you're sitting on a wooden toilet.
Good thing this is on the inside while I practice this. Oh man.
Everything I can think of is getting reinforced. In fact, I wish I knew about this method when I was doing the internal structures last video. So we'll just have to hope on that one.
Getting all sticky again.
This also turned out to be
Ridiculously hard.
We'll come back to this.
So the first thing to do on the outside of this is actually cut the tank back a little bit because now that I have a bidet seat, I'm gonna need more room for it.
I'm changing the design a little bit from the way I first imagined it. Which, by the way, you're probably wondering how I even designed such an oddball thing. And the truth is, it's not designed yet. I tried to use some clay like the old masters used to do it, and I'm an artist, but not an artiste.
It's a sad toilet.
But eventually it started looking something like something.
I just don't know, y'all. So I've just been standing here staring at this thing because there's something off, something that I don't like. But I did notice that I see some creature wings wrapping around the back side, and that gives me a very good idea.
So I started on a second one. Yes, I know, feast your eyes, for it is incredible. Well, that is until one of my patrons told me it reminds him of puking in the toilet. Well, thanks, Marshall, and I mean it because you might have hurt my feelings, but you are changing the course of this project for the better. And what do you think that means? I made a third clay sculpture. I quit. And just like that, I ended my clay sculpting career. I have the design in my head, it's just ridiculously hard to get it into the physical world without just making it out of the material I know best. I even tried AI prompts and it just gave me carnival rides. I mean, can you imagine using this thing? So now you see my professional process, and we should get back to the seat because once again, the toilet shape relies on it being finished first. I even have to make sure that I can get wires through these spots later on. Otherwise the heated seat would be not so heated.
There we go. All right, let's see if all of that was for something or for nothing. I'm actually pretty nervous. So they hold when they're upright, which is perfect. That's what they're supposed to do. Let's try the seat. Oh yeah. Perfectly quiet. Nice. All right, here's the biggins. Yes! Man, this is gonna be the coolest freaking bidet ever.
It really is though, and it has me thinking, how in the world did I think of something like this? And I don't necessarily have a pinpoint answer on when I was inspired, but there are two amazing channels that I watch that could be the source of this weird inspiration. The first is Ali Spagnola. I've been watching her do crazy things with toilets for years. If you haven't seen her, check her channel out because she's an extremely entertaining artist. For the second channel that might have been a part of the unknown inspiration, we'll have to wait until I'm carving the dragons to find that one out. Holy moly, we can finally start on the final shape. For you, it's been minutes, but for me, it has been weeks. And there's been a lot of work up until this very moment. The stakes are starting to feel a bit higher right about now.
And no, I'm not delaying this. I mean, why would I be scared of ruining something that I've put hundreds of hours into and used every tool in my shop and every skill set that I know? I mean, why would I delay something like that? Oh, would you look at that? It's 9 a.m., time for lunch. Okay, fine. Woo, baby.
If you've seen part 1, which you should have seen it, then you probably know that there's a lot of internal waterways that I do not want to cut into, because that would truly be the definition of not good, and very likely lead to a failure of the entire project.
Can you see it yet? It's gonna be sweet.
I'm doing kind of like a girthy rough cut of a toilet shape first, that way it'll help my design and layout process.
Dang, this thing weighs 172 pounds now, which is 58 pounds less than the last time I weighed it. That is a relief.
And may I remind you, I still don't have a full design conceptualized yet.
Already screwed up, and I'm nervous.
While I sweat my way through this, here's some National Geographic for your entertainment.
He's a vicious animal in the wild. They call him the Toby Bubs. Oh, you are vicious.
Overall, I enlisted Bridget to assist with the design, but she just kept feeling it with her fancy art degree hands. So I guess I'll just do it myself then. Not that I'm intimidated or anything. And ultimately design changes were made because I do not have an art degree. I even added on extra pieces to make everything flow, you know? So if I were to tell you that even though this thing looks kinda weird right now, it just might turn out astonishing, would you believe me? I certainly wouldn't believe me, especially based on those drawings. My confidence level in real time during these cuts is pretty small. I've carved table bases, spirographs, organic waterfall lamps, and even the inside of a you-know-what. But never have I ever carved a dragon. On this one side, it would be easy to just mix some sawdust with some epoxy and shove it in there, but usually if I spend the time to fill something like this with wood, it almost always looks way better. I'm letting that other side that I fixed cure for a bit longer before I even touch it, but I do want to start this side and start getting some form happening. That way I can start seeing the design, start making changes, and ultimately create a good looking sculpture in the end.
All right, let's do this thing.
Oh boy, it is time to start making this thing the real deal. This is basically the only part that I know I can just cut straight off. The rest is gonna have to be very careful.
Darn it.
Let's take these off, baby. Oh, jeez. Oh, it's such a cutie.
We got a chain to fix. After all, this is kind of a cheap chainsaw from Amazon, but if I prove myself this project, I just might deserve a big chainsaw.
Good boy.
Those are doggy earmuffs, by the way. This chainsaw is extremely loud inside of this metal shop. I'm also wearing my protective equipment because we are starting to get a little crazy now. For real though, this one single change made it completely transform into the real thing. And as I cut further, I can begin seeing it. I'm gonna have a dragon tail wrapping around the front side, which is cool, but it also has some artistic significance. In my opinion, good art or design looks beautiful. People notice, admire, then walk away. But great art makes the viewer curious to know more and wonder how in the world it was even made. Great art makes a person look at every square inch by leading them through the design. So my idea here is if the tail wraps and peaks around the other side, it'll make the viewer curious and guide them around to the dragon. And that's only after they've seen the dragon on the first side that's in a completely different position. Pretty freaking smart, huh?
All right, so it's next day and I have a couple things. First of all, I accidentally cut this cord yesterday, so I spent the rest of the night fixing it, so it's ready to go now. And secondly, I forgot my forklift actually tilts forward after about 8 hours or so. It slumps forward, so I'm really glad it didn't just dump this thing off of the forks. But the dragon is starting to take shape.
But here's the disorienting part. I'm trying to uncover the boundaries of two different objects. I'm trying to find the confines of where the toilet lies, but simultaneously where the dragon lies within that context. And that's also per side. What's gonna sell this illusion the best is if I can really nail the placement of the toilet, but I also can't carve the dragons away to look for that placement. I mean, what could go wrong now?
Well, I have the flu, so I guess I won't be...
Well, it's been about 2 weeks since I've been in the shop because I got so darn sick. And then I went on a little adventure that resulted in this. I'll tell you about it while I carve the rest of the dragons.
We were invited to Norwood High School in Colorado, so we could build some things with them and hopefully teach them something along the way. But as cliche as this sounds, they actually taught us something quite valuable. Alongside it being such a humbling process to work with them, these small town kids and Mr. P got us out of our YouTube box that we're always in, and we were in their creative world, being of service and focusing on how creativity can transform the lives of others. And through that process, I was picking a fight with this bandsaw one too many times, and of course ended up getting stitches from that. I know, pathetic, huh? But guess what? Their medical center was so fast, I got back without missing any class periods and got to talk with the kids about, you guessed it, bandsaw safety. But this isn't about me. I was just so moved from this experience that I want to start a GoFundMe so that we can get him a new bandsaw and some sharp blades. Fortress will be donating $1,000 towards this tool fund, and if you happen to want to support them too, I'm sure they'd appreciate it, and there will be a link in the description. Here's pictures of their artwork, by the way. They did a really good job.
Okay, it's kind of hard to explain how nerve-wracking of a process this is, because at one moment I'm like, I totally got this. This is going great. And then the next moment I'm like, I totally don't got this, and I'm gonna screw this whole thing up. And then it goes back to, wait, I think I actually got this. Nonetheless, it's pretty taxing on me, so I'm gonna take a break and I'm gonna cut the backside off because that still needs to be cut. And then I'm gonna start smoothing out some of these smooth sections to see how it's really coming together. Another thing that I'm glad I noticed is if you put this template here, this is where the S-trap is inside the toilet. And my first line that I had right here actually bisected this, and I totally would have just cut into that S-trap.
So I guess now is a good time to tell you why I did this. Well, I mentioned in part 1 that I wanted to derail my creativity on purpose, but I didn't really put much context behind it, so I'll kind of fill you in now. Basically, building tables and furniture was fun, but it was starting to get repetitive and wasn't challenging me in a new way every single time. And don't worry, we're still gonna continue building furniture on this channel. So essentially, I was stuck on these rails of creativity where I was going down a path and that made sense, but it wasn't necessarily bringing me to new places. It was only bringing me to that one place. Hence the term derailing my creativity. By doing this, it not only defies the logic of what can be done with wood, but I think it challenges our beliefs in what can be beautiful art. So taking something disgusting like a toilet and turning it into something that is truly profound, it adds that extra challenge and level of excitement that I need.
Okay, it is insane how much better it looks now that it's like just rough sanded. I'm gonna leave the claws unfinished for right now so that I don't end up nicking them or breaking off one of the fingers. And I think it's time to start moving on to the other side. That is a good boy, Toby. Are they coming to say hi? I think I heard one of the deer say, "Is that a dragon toilet?" In fact, yes. Yes, it is. Oh man, this is gonna be so cool.
In fact, yes, it sure is gonna be cool, if it works. There are so many unknown things right now. Does the seat hold my weight? Does the bidet work? Does the 3D printed inlet withstand the water pressure? Will the seat heating work? Will the toilet flush without overflowing? And this is design change number 5063.5, which is another thing that's unknown. Is the design going to look good since I don't technically have a proof of concept? What I do have though is that first side with the first dragon, and that actually blew me away, and most definitely exceeded my expectations. I would really love to know what you think though. Is the first dragon your favorite, or after you see this one, is this your favorite? I will say the tail on this one is pretty freaking cool, but the stance on the other one is really majestic looking.
One of the most epic shitters I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, jeez, dude.
So as promised, where do I think I got the inspiration from for the dragons? And after thinking about it, I think it was the channel Nerd Forge. Martina and Hansi create some astonishing otherworldly art pieces. And Martina is like an expert painter. So you can see why I think this is probably a source of my inspiration. And it's important to give other creators the credit that they deserve. So check Nerd Forge out if you haven't seen them, they're amazing.
I guess that puts a stop to what I was doing. Great. I broke it. I'm gonna have to switch gears and I guess start sanding or something.
And sanding he did for the next entire day. And then lubed his new one so this would not happen again.
When I was telling you earlier about the phases that I was going through of feeling unconfident, then confident again, and then back and forth between the two, that is exactly what I want to be feeling, as hard as it is. It tells me that I'm actually being challenged, and more importantly, I'm being artistically vulnerable. The ladies love that.
It's looking so cool, but my back hurts. I have used every single sanding instrument that is known to man on this project. I've used small mop sanders, large mop sanders, nylon sanders, disc sanders, files, Dremel sanders, chisels, hand sanding. I've pretty much sanded my nails off. I only have 2 stitches left, but boy, was this all worth it. This thing is looking incredible.
Oh boy, is this actually gonna be something worth installing in my home? I'm excited.
So I got my top set. I can just mark around it. Now I just need a little inset right here so that it sits within the confines of this.
So, as we near the end of the project, I still have a few surprises. And no, that's not one of them. That hole actually serves a purpose. It lets air in when the water empties the tank during a flush, of course. The truth is, I'm going to be doing one more thing to the dragons. That way it doesn't feel like you've seen the final product already. But first, a gut-wrenching bravery test.
Now I have to drill 2 holes, one here and one here for the wire and for the supply line. And I have to make sure I don't hit any channels going in this thing. It is pretty nerve-wracking. Well, wish me luck.
Why didn't I do this before I added hundreds of hours of dragon sculpting time to this? That's a good question. Because ultimately, if I drill through one of the waterways now, this project could literally be ruined.
Perfect. I'm down to 1 stitch, by the way. So I just wanted to take a quick moment to appreciate where this project began. I mean, it came from these clay models, which were not very promising, to be honest. And this just end the video. It's over. Just do it.
Okay, that does suck, because I was going to keep those as a memento, but whatever. This is one of the surprises, and I'm not going to show a bunch of it because I still want it to be a surprise for you, but I'm using these fine cuts-all carving tools to carve textures into the dragons. They're helpful because they don't really cause tear out, and it's gonna look so freaking cool.
All right, so the final weight with everything on it, and after hundreds of hours of carving, is 130 pounds. That means it lost 130 pounds in the entire process.
Wow, that's insane. And I've had commenters before say that's a waste. How could I turn that much beautiful walnut into 130 pounds of sawdust? And all I can say is, you'll see why. Well, these are the final stages. I'm using real toilet internal parts because I have 0 time left to engineer 3D printed ones. You guys have been patient. You've been waiting months in suspense. And thank you so much if you've watched this video all the way through. That's the best way you can support us. And here's the final surprise. If this works, after it's installed, we're gonna do a 3rd video of flushing abstract items down it. Don't worry, I'll disconnect our plumbing, but comment below what you want to see flushed. Okay, first off, she looks amazing. And this is the final test. I have everything hooked up and Bridget's gonna turn the water on. Let's see. I see some water. Let's see if it's filling. Oh, and it sure is. All right, let's hope it doesn't go like last time. Oh my gosh. Or like the fire vortex table. Let's try a full flush, full flush, full flush. And guess what? It freaking works like a charm. What about the heated bidet? It works too! The heated dryer also works, and I can't wait any longer. The suspense is killing me. I'm getting this thing installed right now. All right, first real flush, everyone. Are you kidding me? This is insane. And it flushes even better now that it's connected to plumbing. The seat sensor also works. The heated seat is a nice toasty 97 versus the ambient 71. And I can't freaking believe it. The seat holds body weight. What can I say? It works. I mean, stop. Stop cutting me off. What could go wrong now?